Okay, imagine a school where almost every single student comes from a low-income family. Now, imagine that school doesn't just get by, but over a decade becomes this shining example of academic success. Well, that's not some made-up story. It's the real journey of Jefferson Elementary. And today, we're going to deconstruct exactly how they pulled it off.
So, our story is all about Jefferson Elementary School in Lennox, California. You know, on the surface, it might look like a lot of other schools out there, but trust me, their results tell a completely different and way more powerful story.
Get this, over 11 years, Jefferson Elementary skyrocketed its math proficiency rate by 28.5%. I mean, that is a huge sustained jump in how well their students are doing. And when you see a number that big, it just makes you ask one thing.
How on earth did they do it? We're talking about a Title I school, which means it gets federal support because of a high number of low-income students, where over 90% of the kids are from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. How did they achieve this? Well, that's the puzzle we're here to solve.
So first, before we dig into the how, let's just take a minute to really see how impressive this journey has been. Let's look at the results.
Just look at this timeline, right? They started out with a math proficiency of just 18%. By 2019, they'd more than doubled that. Then, the pandemic hit, and you see that dip, which happened everywhere. But look what they did next. They didn't just recover. They shot up to a new all-time high of 46.5%. That tells you their system wasn't a fluke, it was built to last.
And of course, numbers like that get noticed. Big time. In 2025, the awards just started rolling in. We're talking Best Elementary School, one of California's top schools for serving Black and Latino students, a spot on the California Honor Roll. You see, this isn't just a school that's good at crunching numbers. This is a school that is genuinely changing kids' lives.
So what was this secret sauce? What was the engine driving this incredible change? Well, it really boils down to one core philosophy. Their secret weapon, if you will, is this idea called the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, or PDSA. Now, this isn't some fancy curriculum you can just buy off a shelf. It's a way of thinking. It's a systematic process for constantly getting better. Instead of just trying something new and hoping it works, the PDSA cycle gives you a deliberate, data-backed way to improve.
So here's how it actually works. First, they plan. They find a specific challenge they want to tackle. Then, they do something about it. They put a real strategy in place. Next, and this is so important, they study the data. They look at the numbers to see if the plan is actually making a difference. And finally, they act on what they've learned. They either tweak the plan or, if it's working, they scale it up. It basically takes all the guesswork out of getting better.
Okay, so a great engine is awesome, but it needs the right parts to really run. So let's pop the hood and look at the specific tools and practices that Jefferson put into their improvement cycle.
The folks at Jefferson knew they couldn't just grab any old program. They were super intentional. They picked specific, high-quality, research-based programs for the big ones, math and literacy. They chose tools that were proven to work.
So for math, they used Swun Math as their core curriculum. It's got great language support built right in, and they added Math IXL so kids could get practice tailored just for them. For literacy, they went all in on the science of reading for phonics and used amazing adaptive tools like LEXIA and Accelerated Reader to meet every single student right where they were.
But it wasn't just about the curriculum. They also used this incredible tool to teach kids how to think. It's called thinking maps. The whole school used them. They basically help students see their own ideas, organize their thoughts, and make connections between different subjects. It's all about building those critical thinking skills that last a lifetime.
And holding all of these tools together, well, that's the human element. These 5 practices were the bedrock. We're talking serious training for teachers, regular collaboration time for grade-level teams, what they call PLCs, a huge focus on making that first lesson of the day excellent, constantly checking the data, and a support system, or MTSS, to make sure every single kid got the exact help or challenge they needed.
So we've got the engine, and we've got the toolkit, but the big question is, did it actually work? And more importantly, who did it work for? All right, let's look at the data, because the numbers here are pretty incredible.
Okay, check this out. This one really tells a story. Students who had recently been reclassified out of the English Learner program were performing almost 36 points above the standard. That isn't just about closing a gap. That's about knocking it out of the park. It's a huge sign of academic mastery.
And this success wasn't just for one group.
This chart shows the big picture for math, and you can see that clear, steady climb. The orange and yellow bars, that's students who haven't met the standard. They're shrinking. And the green and blue bars, for students meeting or exceeding the standard, they're growing. That is the perfect picture of what school-wide success looks like.
And if we dig into California's state dashboard, it gets even better. Key student groups like English learners and socioeconomically disadvantaged students are in the green zone, which is a really high rating. And then, get this, students identified as homeless reached blue, which is literally the highest performance level you can get. Amazing.
The progress for students with disabilities is just as incredible. This group, which so often faces the biggest challenges, saw their performance jump by nearly 19 points. So what all this really means is that their model wasn't just working, it was working for everyone, every single student, no matter their background.
So, when you put all these pieces together, what do you get? Let's boil it all down into Jefferson's simple, powerful formula for growth.
Here it is. It starts with that core engine for improvement, the PDSA cycle. Then you equip that engine with a smart toolkit of research-backed programs. You navigate the whole thing with a data-driven culture where teachers are always collaborating. And what's the fuel for it all? A deep, unwavering commitment to making sure every single child succeeds.
You know, the story of Jefferson shows us that real change in our schools isn't about some magic wand or silver bullet. It's about a relentless, piece-by-piece commitment to a system that works. And that leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. If this formula can create such incredible results at Jefferson, what could it mean for the schools in your own community?